Steven, what flavor of chicken wing do you think Mark Davis was eating last Thursday?
Is there like a lettuce wrap flavor that he could try? I don't know.
What, the P.F. Chang
PF
flavor?
Chang's. No, I don't know, man. He seems like just a regular. Yeah, I wouldn't even. I'd take him as a guy that doesn't even have wings with sauce, like any sort of condiment or dry rub or anything. Just the classic wing with nothing on it. That's what I'd say. That's what I think.
Just plain old wing?
Just plain wing, nothing
Ugh.
on it.
Well, we all know he's a Hooters guy. So
Mm,
they
good
actually
point.
they don't put a lot of sauce on their wings, from what I remember.
They when we went, they didn't put any sauce on the wings. We had to do it on our own. Remember?
That's right, and I don't care
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, I
Lazy
didn't either.
Hooters.
I wasn't a fan of that. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Like pour the sauce on the wing first and toss it myself? No, do it first.
Exactly,
Anyway.
just lazy. That's why Wingstop does it the best.
Yep. Well, not really. You know what? There's a new place. I'm not even going to Wingstop anymore.
What?
I haven't been to Wingstop in a while.
Steven, you were going there like twice a week.
I was going there once a week, Derek.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. But yes.
You got to mix it up with Taco Bell every week.
No, there's a place called Fire Wings. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah. The wings are like every single time. They're perfect. Wingstop, some batches are good. Sometimes you get like what feels like the bottom of the tray, like the leftovers. So, yeah, I don't know. It's Fire Wings always has perfect ones. So I go there now.
Okay, well, maybe we have to hit that place up when we do Windsor Wangs this season. Welcome, everybody. Just Your Opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We apologize. We were going to do a show yesterday, but right before kickoff, Stephen, I guess, tore his ACL. And if we're doing football analogy here, what happened right before we were about to do the show yesterday, Stephen?
So I've talked at nauseum about the upstairs smell. Well, now that lady's gone.
I heard through mutual friends that you no longer have to worry about that.
Yes, the hoarder. What is that? What you guys talk about when I'm not around?
Yes, we talk about you and your hoards.
But no, she's gone, and they had to replace all the carpet. So on Friday,
what'd she do to the carpet?
Dude, she let her cats just go to the bathroom everywhere, all over the carpet.
I want to get to that a little later too, but go ahead.
Yeah, and she it's to the point where they need to replace it, and it's just nonstop hammering. It feels like they're about to hammer through the ceiling. Like it really does. It feels like something's gonna drop through there. So yesterday we were gonna record at 12, and then they literally just started doing it at 11:50. Wasn't right.
Don't care for that, and that's why I can feel your pain when you live on a lower level and someone above you is making a lot of racket. That used to be me in my apartment in West Hollywood. And then when I moved here, I demanded the top floor, so I would never have to hear that shit again.
So you're the one that's causing the racket.
I am now. When I have my swiveling chair, that's me.
in your two treadmills?
And just the one, Steven, but I don't want to be an asshole, so I don't use it.
Oh, okay. Well done.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't even warn us. Like they didn't even say anything.
Yeah, they got to do that. I mean, any loud maintenance going on, there has to be a warning for the residents.
We didn't even know. Like all of a sudden yesterday, they just start hammering through. They're playing music up, and clearly the speaker's on the ground because you could hear it right above the ceiling. It's terrible. But anyway, that's why you see a little bit of sun under my eyes, is because I've been having to go out to the pool for the last 2 days just to get away from this place.
Just a nap?
Just to chill.
Yeah.
Just to chill. Do something other than sitting here and listen to the hammering. It's terrible.
Well, how early you got to wake up too? You need a tasty nap during the day, so that always sucks too.
Yeah, well, filling in for Bonte, waking up a little earlier, but still 4 o'clock is not exactly a great hour to wake up at.
So cats. I saw Guy Haberman tweet this out where he was talking about people that just let their cats roam are terrible people. So was this woman who was hoarding the cats, were they all just stuck in her apartment, or like how many cats we talking about here?
No, they were stuck in their apartment. I don't even know how many cats. It's I really don't.
She had like a trash pile and a bunch of cats.
Yes, and just
that's just so stereotypical of like a crazy cat lady.
Let them do their business all over wherever they wanted to. And like that's why I think the smell was going into different parts of our apartment. One day it'd be next to the couch, one day it'd be in our sink right next to the bathroom.
Ew.
One day it'd be in the bathroom. Yeah.
So it's just roving smell.
Yes, but it'd only be in one specific spot.
Oh, that's gross as hell.
It is, man. It
Where do
really
you come
is.
down on cats that roam?
I'm okay with it, but it's it's risky. It's risky, man. You gotta, because if it's your cat, it's your cat. And if they, meet a creature or something outside at night and they can't fight it, and, they maybe get a scratch or maybe get injured, and then you have to go and pay money. I don't know if that's worth it, but you also got to let cats roam, though. Cats do whatever they want.
Yeah, but I'm not for that, and that's why I don't like cats. Because when I was living in West Hollywood, my roommate's friend wanted their cat to stay with us, and this cat was not a friendly cat. This be the type of cat that, and I'm not a good cat person,
Mm.
so this cat would get up in above the refrigerator, get into like a little crack area,
Oof.
and then when you went to go get water at night, you just see their eyes just stare at you, and you just hear like a hissing sound, just scare the shit out of me. This
Yeah.
cat would just walk all over the place, walk on the stove tops. It was just gross. And yeah, I hate cats. Not a cat guy.
There was one cat when I was living in college that was like the apartment cat. He would just roam around the apartments. Everyone knew the cat. Like even when he came into the apartment one time, which he did, you leave the door open, they're gonna come in. And we let it in, sometimes fed it every now and then. And I got really sad because we had to go home for summer. So we left the apartment and we get back and we see the cat again. And the cat is thin as hell, like bony.
Damn.
So
Yeah.
clearly no one had fed it when we were gone. And it's like, who the hell owns this damn cat?
Yeah, man.
And so
Just an alley cat.
I don't even know what happened to it.
Damn.
Sad.
Yeah, I mean, good for you, but I have no patience for cats. Same said cat. So during that time we were watching that cat, I had the second vaccine, and I wasn't feeling well, so I was just eating oatmeal, and this cat blocked the microwave. So one day, just out of pure anger, I just hurled the packet of oatmeal at the cat to get the fuck out of my way. You're a
Jeez.
cat.
Jeez.
The cat was in the way. Move, cat. And the cat's like hissing at me and trying to hit me. I was like about to punch this cat, like like the news team in Anchorman. They're
Oh
finding the
my
bear.
God.
Yeah.
God, yeah, and you're gonna treat it like Anchorman or Jack Black with the dog and just punt it off.
I would
a
have drop
bridge.
kicked that cat. Definitely, that was a bad cat.
That's how I roll.
I no longer live with those roommates, so I can talk about that cat all I want. That cat sucked. Anyway,
walk. Yeah, you walk, but you do kind of like a walk off. That's how I roll.
yep, exactly. You're a cat. Know your fucking place. Anyway, Steven, how much we actually got football to talk about. Speaking of which,
Oh,
let's do this now. Let's announce
What?
this. You and I were mulling this over to one podcast. It's a good idea by you. I think we should do it. I think both of us are in agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, starting the first week of football season, September 11th, Steven and I will be doing a pregame show right on here called Just Your Pregame Show, man. Similar title, see? And we're going to be on from 8 to 9, and we'll do 1 hour of picking games, doing spreads, all that stuff. And we'll be with you before every NFL Sunday. And then, we'll have an hour to go where we need to be watching the game. So excited for that, Stephen.
Yes, the pregame show. It's very easy, very simple. Give people something to wake up to because, look, man, pregame shows nowadays, I got respect for everyone at CBS and Fox, whatever, but their
Not
pregame shows
ESPN.
and ESPN, but their pregame shows are all the same. So you know what? Let's do a live podcast every morning. Give people a little something different. Give them the real, and give them people who actually watch the games. So that'd be good.
There you go, man. We'll be there. We'll be here, I guess, in our respected areas. Coming this Sunday, or not this Sunday, but this NFL Sunday season. So look forward to that. As far as actual games being played, we got one last Thursday, but it was the Hall of Fame game, kind of a tease. How much of the game did you watch, Steven?
None. I
didn't watch it all?
No, because I was out. I went to the Giants-Dodgers game, and the Hall of Fame game was happening at the time when I was on my way home. So I caught the highlights, but I didn't watch any of it live.
So you didn't see Josh Jacobs in 2 series?
No, I saw that. I saw that.
What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know. At first thought naturally that comes to mind is, what is he fighting for a starting job as the running back? Like, what's he doing here? Because we haven't even seen Josh Jacobs like ever in the preseason. I even remember his rookie year. We had to wait till the Cardinals game. It was a third week against the It was the third preseason game against the Cardinals, I think. And Jacobs was out there for one drive. Then they scooted down the field. This was the only time we ever saw any of the starters in. Then Gruden's like, all right, I've seen enough. And that's what I said back in 2019. And it doesn't feel like he's played in the preseason since then. I don't think he
Probably not.
has.
Probably not.
So seeing this is brand new, but then Josh McDaniels saying after the game that he likes to give all his running backs some playing time in the preseason. He likes to see what they're made of. So I'm not gonna read too deep into it. I'm gonna think more that it's just Josh McDaniels trying to get a feel for this new offense and this new team that he has. So I'm not gonna make too much of it. I mean, are you going out there like, ooh,
Well,
little
no.
controversy?
I mean, I would go. That's something I would do, but I thought it was interesting, and I wouldn't put anything to it if they did not decline his fifth-year option. And they do have a plethora of running backs right now, and Brandon Bolden, Kenyon Drake. Who else they got? Some other running backs. Oh, Amir Abdullah. Basically,
yeah.
if we know anything about Josh McDaniels and the Patriots, they love to throw the ball to their running backs.
Yeah.
That is Tom Brady's safety net, and that's something that's probably going to be incorporated in the Raiders' offense. Now, Josh Jacobs is capable of catching passes. We saw it at Alabama, but he hasn't done it a lot in his Raider career.
No.
So when I saw that, I was like, that is interesting considering that no one plays in the preseason, let alone Hall of Fame game, extra preseason game. We'll see if Josh Jacobs plays more, but I saw my guy, John Middlecoff, and you actually saw him at training camp, I think, last week, right?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Also referencing way too much of this podcast, but did see him tweet out, is Josh Jacobs going to get traded before week 1? And I tweeted back at him saying he could just be proving himself to Josh McDaniels. He said the writing was on the wall as soon as they declined his fifth-year option. I don't know if I agree with that, but I will say that I would not be the least bit surprised if they are showcasing him to either be a part of the Raiders team or be a part of somebody else's team. I could see them seeing Josh Jacobs and being like, he doesn't fit the offense going forward. We do want to throw the ball a lot more, and we don't need a bell cow running back.
Right.
Not to say that Josh Jacobs could be used that way, but I don't know. It's intriguing. That could just be the way Josh McDaniels rolls, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they want to get some value for him if they realize that they're not going to bring him back next season.
Yeah, I do think that the writing's on the wall. I really don't expect Josh Jacobs to be a part of this team after this year. It's so hard to pay a running back. Like just having to pay them anything after their rookie contract. Like a guy who impressed, I thought he looked pretty good, was Zamir White out of Georgia.
Yeah, forgot about him. Yep.
The fourth rounder, he had 11 carries for 52 yards. I want to see a little bit more of him. I think for this season that if as long as they stay healthy, like this is my favorite number 2 to Josh Jacobs right now. Like Zamir White looks I know it's just one preseason game. And I was really looking forward to Kenyon Drake last season, but you haven't really seen that definitive number 2 role. Like after Josh Jacobs was out, it's just like, all right, what do they have here? So I'm curious to see what Zamir White does for the rest of the season. And if he goes out there, shows out, they're probably going to think, you know what, we don't need to pay Jacobs. Like we don't need to pay a running back the type of money that he's going to be looking for. And really, I don't know who will. Like running backs are just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think teams are just so hesitant to pay him nowadays because seeing what's happened with, I don't know, Todd Gurley, seeing what's happened with, Zeke hasn't really been the same ever since he got his big contract. Like
Christian
I don't know,
McCaffrey.
man. Yeah, it's a total risk paying these guys. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I'd love Jacobs to play on this team and love for him to stay. But if Zamir White goes out there and shows that maybe he's the better long-term option, then I wouldn't be shocked if that happens.
I wouldn't be shocked either. We can see what happens in this NFL preseason. So I watched all of the game, and it wasn't so much like I need to be like breaking down everything. How's the backup offensive guard doing? All that shit. Wasn't watching for that. I just want to watch football again. I miss it so much. I can't wait for this season. And it's also nice just watching an NFL preseason game and not having to do a highlight for it. So I just wanted to soak that in. But, and you're going to hear me say that a lot during preseason because, God, it was hell. But let me just say, I know it's just the Hall of Fame game. I know it's preseason. It meant something to Josh McDaniels because he's from Canton, Ohio. His father was there, his mother was there, and it was a homecoming for him. I don't like. There was a lot of hot takey bullshit the next day after just the Hall of Fame game. I saw Skip Bayless go on the next day and say that the Raiders are going to win the division and Derek Carr is better than Justin Herbert, which is just an asinine statement to make.
Skip said that.
Skip said that. He
Oh
said
my
Derek
God.
Carr after watching the Hall of Fame game, which did not feature Derek Carr. He said that Derek Carr is better than Justin Herbert. And listen, you and I, we try to support Derek Carr. A lot of Raider fans don't like Derek Carr. I'll be the first to admit. You'll be the first to admit. Justin Herbert is 10 times better than Derek Carr. Let's relax there.
Well, not 10 times. Not 10 times. That's a little asinine. Not 10 times better. Herbert's still got some work.
He's better. 10 times semantics. He's just better than Derek Carr.
Yes, he is. Yes.
But I will say this. The way that the Raiders are going to operate as an offense is going to be interesting. So they play with Jared Stidham. They play with Nick Mullins. Not that I was impressed or anything with the offensive explosiveness. I mean, they won 27-11 over the Jaguars, but the way they ran plays, the efficiency and the way they did things, you could just see that they are going to run very effectively as an offense once they get on the field. It reminded me a little bit of Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan and just the way that the offense was moving and operated. It's hard to explain. I think even Chris Collinsworth said it at the end of the broadcast where he was like, I understand it's the Hall of Fame game, but the way that they're operating, the way that they're running plays, it's just a different feel. So I am excited about this Raider team going forward in the regular season. I get it. It was not the main stars, but just from what I saw, I was impressed with how the offense operates.
So again, I need to watch a full game, and luckily there's an extra. That's an extra preseason game that goes along with the preseason.
I mean, you can also watch on NFL Plus, the new streaming app.
Ooh, NFL Plus. I renewed my subscription and didn't want to.
Yeah, it's the same thing as Game Pass. They just remodeled it, and I can say that now because I'm not employed by the NFL. It's just more bullshit for you to buy.
But did Chris Collinsworth do a little profile on Lester Cotton?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because that was my one prediction for what was going to happen. If there's anything that Chris Collinsworth is going to do, like I was thinking about the game and it's just like, well, what to expect? I don't know. It's a first preseason game. Like there's the 5 stages of grief.
Yes.
So, you always have to go through the 5 stages of grief whenever something terrible happens. Well, I go through my 5 phases of being an NFL fan. At first it's, oh man, OTAs. Sweet. OTAs are happening. That means
you get excited for OTAs.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, OTAs. That means football's starting up. All right, let's go. And then you're like,
surprised by that.
And then you're like, all right, you know what? I'm done with this. Let's get to training camp. All right, training camp's here. All right, I'm done with training camp. Let's get to the preseason. Okay, preseason's here. All right, let's get to the regular season. I'm tired of this. All right, so right now I'm about to be in stage 3. I'm about to be in stage 3 once I'm done with week 1 of the preseason. And then I want the regular season to happen. And then once the regular season goes through, there's already a ton that goes into the regular season, but by the end of it, it's like, all right, either your team's in the postseason or now I'm just waiting for the NFL draft. Then you get to the draft, then you're in that 5th stage where it's like, all right, I'm tired of this.
Go through the little cycle again.
Yes, it's the whole cycle. It's the 5 stages of being an NFL fan, and that's where I'm at. But the only prediction I had was Chris Collinsworth is going to do a profile on Lester Cotton. It looks like he's going to be their starting guard because Lester Cotton was like an undrafted free agent, cut twice from the team, and now he's back. I could just picture Collinsworth being, now here's a guy who got cut, came back, resilience. Yeah, so I don't know. I was just wondering if that happened.
Real quick, I guess Ian Rappaport is listening to us because literally I'm watching Inside Training Camp, and on the ticker right now it says the Raiders are not interested in trading Josh Jacobs. So
why would they? I wouldn't do it before the season. No, hell no.
Who knows? I mean, yeah, it could be a deadline trade, but if they're playing well, then you probably keep them. They did not do that. They did not do Lester Cotton. You said
Lester Cotton. Yep,
Lester Cotton. I'm thinking of. Who's Cotton from Dodgeball? Because we got the Ocho going today.
Cotton McKnight.
Cotton McKnight. Right, you are Cotton.
Jesse and I watched that yesterday morning.
The movie or the Ocho?
The movie.
Okay.
I haven't seen that in forever. It's so good.
Oh, but I something that we were referencing around the KMBR studio is just when Patrick O'Houlihan in like coming back as like a metaphor for Peter. Just he goes, "I trust you, Peter," and then it's like an awkward like moment. Bye bye now.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Chris Collinsworth did not do that, but I would say he was a little unprepared for the broadcast because there was one point where he was referencing Arden Key for the Jaguars. And then he goes, "Yeah, Arden Key, man. Now there's a guy that goes out there and the Raiders draft him and he doesn't really perform well. But then, he has a season with the 49ers and then they ask him to come back. So now he's on the team again." I was like, are you confusing Arden Key with he's on the Jaguars now, so I think it got mixed up with the Raiders and the Jaguars and everything.
Well, I mean, even in the highlights, I think because Arden Key, didn't he have a sack or he had a pass breakup or something like that?
Something like that. He had a split sack with Trayvon Walker, the first overall pick.
Yeah, and Tarico's like, Arden Key, the former Raider. That's a terrible, terrible Tarico. But so Tarico knew. Collinsworth didn't.
Yeah. Something tells me by week 3 or 4 you'll have a Tarico impression down.
No, I won't. No, I can't do it. Tarico's one of those guys who you can't do an impression of because his voice is just that unique. It's that distinctive. It's really hard to do an impression of, at least for me.
Well, I mean, we'll hear him a lot more now because he'll be the main play-by-play guy for Sunday Night Football. But all I remember is when he used to do Monday Night Football with John Gruden, there was one time where a block punt happened, and he screamed out, "Look out!" Like he was trying to tell like the punter, like, "Look out! You're about to get like he's about to save him or something." It was hilarious. Look out!
Oh my god.
So yeah, the Hall of Fame happened on Thursday, the Hall of Fame game, I should say, and then Saturday, super early. This is actually the first time I've noticed this. It may have been this way back in the day, but I always remember, I mean, working at NFL Network, we used to do the Hall of Fame ceremony. It was a late afternoon thing. So to wake up at 8, 9, and then there's already speeches going on, I was like, oh shit, I thought it was gonna be later in the day.
Yeah.
But it was a nice ceremony, as always. Bryant Young with just a moving speech about his son Kobe. Cliff Branch, I got to know Cliff from booking him for my pop show, and Cliff was an interesting character. He probably would have given a fantastic Hall of Fame speech, but same thing with Ken Stabler, as we do a lot. We honor people when they die, and I thought, you ask anybody, Cliff Branch was there for all 3 Super Bowl teams. Probably one of the first vertical threats in NFL history, and for him to get that posthumously is just a injustice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm tired of these posthumous Hall of Fame votes, especially for the Raiders. It feels like it only happens to them, but I'm sure there's other teams too where it's gone down like that. But I don't know, just it feels like you're voting them in because it feels like you're obligated to, just because of like outside pressure telling them telling you that you should. And Raider fans outraged that he's not into the Hall of Fame. I mean, there's plenty of outrage there. I don't know, man. I just wish you would see him up at the podium and have him, present his own bust and everything with whoever was presenting him the award. So I don't know. Bryant Young's though, I did get to watch a couple of excerpts from that speech. That was just, the word you put it was perfect. Moving. It really was, man. And dedicating it to his son. It was just, emotional, very emotional.
Speaking of emotional, I was shocked that Greg Kinnear / what's his name? God, who's the other actor that played Dick Vermeil? I fucked it up. Greg Kinnear played Dick Vermeil. Then who was the other actor in
what?
In the Underdog movie with Kurt Warner? Dick Vermeil's been played by 2 different actors. Greg Kinnear in Invincible
Dennis
Quaid. God damn it. Rewind. So, speaking of emotional, Steven, I thought that Greg Kinnear / Dennis Quaid was going to cry during his speech. Dick Vermeil. That was terrible. Anyway, I was shocked that Dick Vermeil didn't cry at all during his speech.
Why?
Because he always cries. There's not a moment where that man does not cry during a day.
Okay. How do you know that?
Dude, you never seen him in a press conference? He can't go with like 2 seconds without crying.
I can't say that I know too much about Dick Vermeil's press conferences.
Dick
No.
Vermeil is a great man and a great coach, but he loves to cry.
Okay, fine. And he didn't cry though this time.
He did not cry. He just I don't think he planned his speech very well. He was just kind of like remembering names, just being like, "Hey, Isaac Bruce, yeah, my guy. All right, Torrey Holt, there's you." And then like he just then it's like out of nowhere, he's like, "All right, I gotta go." Like he just ran out of time.
So he just thanked a bunch of people, then left.
Thanked a bunch of people.
That's what Ernie's saying here.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't mention Ron Jaworski. It didn't shed any tears, which I was a little surprised by.
And my buddy Joel, Chris was drunk.
Chris was he sounded like he wasn't ready to do a August preseason game.
Yeah, well, who is? I mean, come on. First one coming off the vacation.
Speaking of which, the Raiders announced a new play-by-play guy. I don't have his name in front of me.
Really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, hang on one second. Let me get his name so we introduce him properly.
I did see this. Never mind, I lied.
Where is his
Jason
name?
Horowitz.
There you go. Yeah. He did. I want to say he did some Westwood One college, and thank you, Ernie. Got it for us on the timeline there too. And they announced this. I want to say 9 days before the first preseason game. So that dude had to learn a bunch of names fast with Lincoln Kennedy. Good Lord.
I'm sure that he knew beforehand,
I
though,
know,
right?
but it seemed a little, you're going to announce that 9 days before the season kicking off? That's a little much.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Young, good-looking guy. Yeah. Let's see what his calls are like.
Let's hear if his I mean, I'm not going to say like he's going to try to be my dad or Brett Musburger, but I'm interested to hear what his touchdown call is going to be.
Well, if he does anything better, learn jackpot, baby, then we're good.
Jackpot, baby was terrible.
Oh, God, awful.
All right, Steven. So we did our podcast last week, and we were talking about the Niners getting close to a deal with Deebo Samuel. And sure enough, 2 hours after we ended our podcast, breaking news: Deebo Samuel signed a 3-year extension for $71.55 million, $58.1 million guaranteed. He makes 24 annually, and it was in the same kind of area as the other contracts with A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf. So your reaction to the deal itself and the Niners going forward with Deebo Samuel?
Not surprising. I think they got a good deal on it. 3 years, I think, is the perfect amount of time because who knows with Deebo Samuel, the way that he runs, it's such a physical style of football. I think 3 years is perfect. I don't think 3 years is exactly the window, but by the time his contract is up and you got to, your front office has to meet and decide whether you should pay him or not. Well, Brandon Ayuk's contract is going to be up by that time and you're going to have him. Then I think Ayuk is going to be like a damn good receiver this year, and that's just based off training camp, I know, but he looks just so locked in and he's made some unbelievable catches. We'll see if that translates onto the field, but I like the contract. My question is though, is the incentives that come along with it, because he can make up to $1.95 million in total. I believe it's 380 rushing yards is what he has to reach in order to make 650,000. Then he has to get at least 3 rushing touchdowns a season to make another 650,000. Or I could be wrong. That might be I think it's actually 350,000 for one of them.
Something like that.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I wonder in that contract, like, if it. I don't know how many carries he's going to get per game, and I don't know if they're going to even it out. It's probably going to be less than 5 to 6, which is what he was getting from week 10 on. But my question is, like, if he doesn't get that amount of yards, is he going to start pressing toward the end of the season where it's like, oh, you know what? I got to start to get this incentive. I got to make this money. Coach, give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. When it's like, maybe you're not running as well. Maybe you're not the same as a running back. Maybe teams have figured him out. Maybe they're ready for Deebo to be a running back, or they can't figure him out because Deebo is Deebo. And he's a top 10 player in the NFL right now. I think so, all around. So that's my only gripe with it is if, at the end of the year, he's not anywhere close to that incentive number and he's just like pushing. I wonder what's going to happen with that, but it's a good deal, man. Overall good deal.
I think it's a good deal. And you bring up a good point, Steven, is that he knows that incentive is in the contract. So while this whole offseason we were hearing he doesn't want to play running back, he may demand to play running back to get his money.
Yeah.
And I listened to the press conference where he laughed at the report saying that that never was a thing. I never was angry about playing running back or wide back. He downplayed the whole trade demand thing. He said everything's good now. So I wonder in the end what it was all about. I really do, because everyone got paid. DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. They all got relatively the same contract. The only one that got traded was AJ Brown. And he even tweeted about that, saying, I didn't demand a trade or anything. I was just, it's funny when the agent for all four players is one guy. And well, I think one guy's out, but for those four guys, I think three of them were represented by the same agent. And in the end, that guy worked out a deal.
The only one who's not is Terry McLaurin. He's the only one that's not represented. But yes. Deebo, AJ Brown, and DK all represented by the same company.
Yes. So they all got the same money in the end. So and we heard reports that the Niners were willing to give Deebo a deal. I wonder what the whole stink was about. And, I think this is a bigger thing of just because Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter or Woj tweets out, this player demands a trade, we automatically in the media go, well, that guy's going to be off the team. And of course, during the draft, that was a real thing because that's the time to do that. With the Jets having the 10th overall pick and their offer wasn't great, it was the 10th overall pick and then a pick swap, which didn't make sense. But it was a real thing because you're wondering, do the Niners really value Deebo? Should they get more value in a better conventional wide receiver at 10th overall, maybe with Garrett Wilson? And then sometimes, it's, I guess looked upon as like old school and everything. But when you just tell a player, no, we're not going to trade you, that's best for business. That's why I think the Brooklyn Nets are not going to trade Kevin Durant in the end.
Right. I think so. And you know what, though? I don't buy what Deebo's selling at all. I really don't. Like, dude, you unfollowed the 49ers on Instagram. Clearly there was something going on. Like, I don't.
God forbid.
Well, still though, like that's,
I know
something nowadays. And it's like I don't believe that everything's just perfectly fine with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Like, I don't believe that by one iota. Like, I think there was some tension. I think there was something going on. Like, my issue with athletes and like the way that they approach these things is like when there's a report about them, they always give some sort of very vague statement where they're like, don't believe everything you hear, or don't believe, watch your back. I don't know, something like that, where they'll just put something ancillary on their Twitter or Instagram or whatever, whenever there's these reports. Why can't they all, like, if this was true, like if there was really nothing wrong, then Deebo wouldn't have been so quiet about everything. Like, I don't understand why these athletes, like, they could easily just take to Twitter, write out a statement, write out something long, and like write out, like a 280 character thing about how none of this is true. I love my time with the 49ers. I love my coaches. I love my role. I love everything. And hopefully we'll get a deal done. Like, why can't athletes be that way?
Because it is true.
Like, there's clearly something wrong if you're not going to say something.
Well, everything's fine now because he got the money.
Exactly. So everything's fine. He's not going to, he's going to downplay it. I don't buy that for 1 second from him, but it's fine. Like, sorry, dude, I don't believe it.
The real, and I agree with you, Steven, is just that he was mad in April and now he's happy in August because he got his money. And yeah,
maybe they wanted, Lil Wayne to be played in the tunnel or something. Shanahan didn't like the song choice because that was the song that they were coming out with. Kodak
in the boombox.
Yeah, Super Gremlins was the one, which that entrance is hard, by the way. When Deebo and Shredder at the front.
With the chain.
Yeah, with the chain and the boombox. Like, that's hard.
I mean, not everyone's going to get a, Derek Jeter 30 for 30. So, sometimes we'll never know the details of why somebody wanted this and wanted that. And it's unfortunate, and we're not going to know right now. And also, just like George Kittle, they do the deal right before the season starts. So everyone expecting Nick Bosa to get a deal. Let's fast forward a year from now, and that'll happen probably this time August, this time next year.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you, Steven. It seemed like a lot of complaining for nothing in the end. He got the money, and we'll see how things go forward. It's not a ton of money, and honestly, if I had to pick between the two, I think Deebo Samuel is a great player, but I kind of expect Brandon Ayuk to do more as a player going forward. So it'll come a point where they have to pay both of these guys. And Trey Lance has already started the connection with Brandon Ayuk in training camp more. Everybody's been talking him up. Kyle's been talking up a lot more how he's improved from a season ago. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I think that Deebo's a great player, but he's a great player because of how dynamic he is and being both a great running back and great wide receiver. We'll see how they use him going forward.
Sorry.
No, you're all good. But yeah, he got his money now, and it's all kumbaya for now.
My question is, and I think you make a great point there about Ayuk, because my question is, like, are the Niners going to be able to run that same brand of football, which is the other team knows what is coming? Like the 49ers offense sometimes is not that complicated. Sometimes they're just going to beat you with the talent that they have. Can they do that this year? Are they just going to run those simple type of plays where it's just a crossing route with Deebo and they just let him, try to extend the field? Like, what's it going to be this year? How's it going to look? Our defense is going to be ready for them. Like, is the offense going to be the same? Are they going to change things up with Lance? Like, I think there's I don't think we could just look at last year and think, oh yeah, that's just going to carry over into this year, and that's how the 49ers are going to do it. Like, they're not going to be stopped. I don't buy that, but I do think Brandon Ayuk, God, man, he is due for just a killer year. If anything, like, it's hard to not overreact when you're at training camp and you're seeing what he's doing. Like, he's getting triple covered and he's catching it over all these dudes. Him and Lance seem to be really in sync. Lance and Deebo, from the minimal reps that I saw, they did not seem to be as in sync as him and Ayuk did. So I'm interested to see how that goes this season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be the same old offense. I know Kyle Shanahan wants to run the ball, and he will run the ball, but it won't be just the straight zone run blocking that we've seen in the past. Yeah, I think it's going to be a more dynamic offense, and they might throw a lot more than in years past because that's the whole point of getting Trey Lance.
Well, if that offensive line can hold up.
That's a big question mark. That's probably the biggest question mark next to the quarterback this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, that guy Spencer Burford, number 74, the 4th-round rookie, he looks good. Like, I go back to the Raiders and them just starting Gabe Jackson right off the rip as the left guard, except Burford's probably going to be playing right guard. But he was getting pushed on the offensive line. He was pass protecting. He was doing everything. I think he's going to be a starter. The right side, McGlinchey, who knows? Then on the left side, Trent Williams, and I don't know who's going to be the left guard. And then at center, you're probably going to have Jake Brundle. I thought that Daniel Brunskill was going to be the guy at left guard, but he's not even working with the ones. He's just straight up a backup center right now. I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, who's the main center right now, though?
Jake Brendel.
Oh, Jake Brendel, right.
Yeah.
And J.C. Tretter's still out there with Ryan Jensen having a torn ACL for the Buccaneers. So we'll see who gets him first between the Bucs or the Niners, if the Niners want to go down that road.
Yeah, by the way, I randomly saw this. Didn't Tristan Wirfs get carted off the field?
I saw that too. I don't know what the latest is up with him. We got some injuries too. Tim Patrick, the third wide receiver for the Broncos, is out for the season with a torn ACL. So people are upset about the Niners having this song and dance go on with Jimmy Garoppolo, but people will get injured, and when that happens, they'll be thankful that they held on to him.
Wait, with Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, dude, because you don't think a quarterback's gonna get injured at some point?
Yeah, well, he could. Yeah.
Now, this whole thing about him getting cut and then going to the Rams to back up Stafford because of his elbow, I'm not buying for one fucking second.
No. Dude, did you see the video that was posted of Daniel Jones?
Yes, hitting. That was terrible.
Apparently, he is not having a good camp, like a really bad camp.
And that's why we heard rumors. I don't know who reported it, but the Giants are interested in Jimmy Garoppolo, which makes you wonder what you do with Daniel Jones. I mean, we made the argument before that Tyrod Taylor would be a great backup for Trey Lance, and he's the number 2 right now in New York if he doesn't beat out Daniel Jones. Yeah, there's a video going around Twitter where Daniel Jones is throwing a pass to the sideline, but it is just so off target that it hits a person working on the sideline.
Giants fans. Oh, man. It's fun to laugh at New York fans' misery.
It is, actually.
Yeah.
Some other news that broke after we were done with the podcast. We knew that this was going to be announced on Monday, and it was announced. Deshaun Watson gets 6 games. Sue Robinson thought was a appropriate suspension, even though she said it's the most egregious case that she's seen while doing suspensions for the NFL. And so we were wondering, there was a lot of outcry of, is this an appropriate suspension? And it's not. We are basing this off of years past, where Ben Roethlisberger got 6 games for his. I want to say it was 2 accusers, but a lot of people are saying it was one.
Right.
It was Zeke Elliott getting 6 games for his transgressions. There's 24 women we're talking about here, all having a similar story with Deshaun Watson. And whether or not it was actually rape, in the end, it's a reported disgusting act. So I didn't think it was appropriate suspension, although I was not surprised by it at all. But the NFL then a couple days later appeals the suspension, which is just a weird process.
Yeah.
I know that we go from Roger Goodell, he was judge, jury, and executioner, and now he wants to have a mitigator in between so he doesn't look like the bad guy. This is the one time you may need to look like the bad guy, because you may be the bad guy not doing anything here. So now that the NFL is appealing the suspension, now the NFLPA is going to be involved. They have another person looking over the case. They're trying to get Deshaun Watson to have the full season suspended after they offered him 12 games and he turned it down. I don't know how this is going to go. This could be another scenario for Jim Garoppolo to be traded to the Cleveland Browns. If it's just 6 games, I don't see them doing that. But, Steven, your overall thoughts, Deshaun Watson from the initial suspension to now it being a appeal for the whole season.
Yeah, so the guy that you're talking about is New Jersey Attorney General Peter Harvey. That's who they've delegated this to. So Roger Goodell's just not even going to handle it. He's just like, all
but
right.
That's, but in all fairness, though, I know, we get on Roger Goodell for his past stuff. This is what when the new CBA came out, this is what the players wanted.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. So, and they said that they want to get this done as quickly as possible. So a new verdict should be coming down. I was just so confused by her statement, that judge, the 16-page statement that came out. I read the whole thing. And
you did?
Yeah. I mean, it's only 16 pages. It's not going to take long.
16 pages is a while, but good for you, man.
It's 16 pages. Come on, it's not that bad. So,
it's a whole book for me.
But I was reading it, and it felt like the first 12 pages was just, yes, we know that he did this. We understand that he did this. Like, this is indisputable that he had done this, whether it's just, making gestures over to the massage therapist and having them come touch his, what, like, It's like, oh yeah, we understand all of this. And then at the end they say, but because there's precedence, 6 games, and 6 games is what you're supposed to give them. And it's like, what? There's no precedence that should be involved with this. This is unprecedented. And especially with the guy with the position that he's in. So I don't know, man, 6 games didn't feel like enough. 6 games wasn't enough. And it doesn't mean that it was right for the previous athletes either. 6 games wasn't enough for them. Like 6 games, just 6 games. I know that's a lot of money, but 6 freaking games, it's got to be more than that.
No fine.
No fine. And his contract is fully guaranteed. So congratulations, Deshaun. Here you go. Here's $200 million. By the way, you're only going to get a 6-game suspension. No, it's not enough.
Yeah.
No, like, I don't know what the suspension should be. I personally don't want these types of guys in the sport at all. Like, I don't know. That's just me.
The question I have to people, and I heard a lot of outcry. Kyle Brandt, I thought, had a great take on it on Good Morning Football. Rachel Bonetta, she talked about it as well. But my question to a lot of people is, what is going to be enough? Because I don't think it ever will be enough. The fact that this guy is going to be in football is going to rub people the wrong way regardless. So I get that 6 games is not sufficient enough of a punishment. But at the same time, if you want him suspended for another season and he comes back in 2023, is that going to be enough?
Right.
regardless of the punishment, I always think that the league is going to have a black guy with this guy around. So,
Yep.
and there's a part of me that's, should he never be able to play football again? There's an argument to be made for that. At the same time, I mean, I'm not naive. We've all seen it before. When you can play football, you will play football regardless of what you've done in the past. Um, I don't know what is enough. I know the league wants to suspend him a full season, but there's an argument. I've heard people say that they don't. When the league is doing well and humming, and by week 6 or 7, when he comes back, then it's like we got more controversy. I also understand, and not that I'm condoning this, but Cleveland Browns fans have had nothing for the majority of their tenure.
Yeah.
I guess like the new Browns that came back into the league in 1999 as an expansion team. So it's disturbing when you see young kids getting autographs from Deshaun Watson. You're like, oh boy. But at the same time, you're like, these fans, all they care about is football too. I'm not saying it's a great look. It's just the whole thing is weird to me. So I don't know what's enough. I just don't think we'll ever get around of the
Right.
story. And this is what I mean. The Browns discussed this, and we're like, in the end, it's worth it. But I don't know if it will be worth it. I understand that it could lead to them being a very good football team, but you're always going to have controversy around him.
Well, and also the main argument, the counter argument to people like me who would say like, oh, that suspension needs to be more, needs to be for a year. Hell, I don't even maybe for the next 4. I don't know, but their counter would be, like for the time that the contract plays out. But the counter would be, well, he wasn't convicted of anything, so what's the NFL supposed to do?
Yeah,
And all this, and I'm just like, I get that, but there were 24, got up to 26, didn't it? Maybe
yes,
even I think 26 people that came forward, and it turns out that like 22 of them already got settled. So,
yeah,
that's what they do. They just come up with settlements, and it's just there's a whole problem with America's judicial system anyway, and it's still crazy that it's Deshaun Watson that this is happening to too.
that's the problem I have with all this is that he didn't need to do like this whatever happened behind closed doors. The sick thing is you can't get around the fact that he goes through what 50 massage therapists.
Yeah.
And this is obviously for some kink he has. So, you're a successful, good looking quarterback. You can have, for the most part, any woman you want. You don't need to resort to this behavior. But
You wouldn't think so.
yeah.
You wouldn't think so. But yeah, he's still going to be with the team, man. I don't know.
Well, it's tough because when we get to football and he starts playing, you're going to be talking about them being a Super Bowl contender because he's that good, and the roster they have, they should be a good team.
Yeah.
So it's going to be something that I'm not looking forward to. Is that when we talk about the Cleveland Browns being a very good football team, it's going to be met with he's also a scumbag.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's you're right. It's just going to be a bad look all around. Bad look all around.
I mean, like, let's be realistic. Is Trevor Bauer going to be accepted in Major League Baseball in 2 years? Probably not.
No, but Trevor Bauer's just going to keep going on his Instagram page and get all his followers to say like, "Hey, Trevor, Trevor, free Bauer." And it's like, dude, you're a freak. You're a weirdo. You're a weirdo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, stop. He's clearly posting this stuff because, the fans love him and they're going to comment and, give him that affirmation that, what, maybe nothing happened and, say that you still have fans out there. But I think there's still a large segment of people who just would not want to see him on the mound ever again with all that stuff that came out.
With a 2-year suspension, I don't think anyone's touching him. And how loud and vocal he is too. It's not worth it at this point.
No, it's not. So that's a very good comparison though. 2 years for that guy, even though, it was still ongoing. I mean, they were just swift. They were quick with it. I'll give them credit. They were just like, you know what? We're going to do this weird thing where we're just going to have you hold out. We're not going to let you play. And we're just going to keep on extending this until we actually come to a conclusion. Then they finally got the 2 years under his belt. So there you go.
Yeah. Another punishment that was dealt out this week is the Miami Dolphins being found guilty of tampering. They get their 2022 or 2023 first round pick revoked. and when the NFL found out, and a third round pick in 2024, I believe. So they get 2 picks scrapped. Good luck, Mike McDaniel. That sucks for something that you didn't even do. Because of their owner, Stephen Ross, sat down with Tom Brady, tried to get him to come to the Dolphins when he was a member of the Patriots, and tried to get Sean Payton when he was still under contract for the Saints. I don't think that that's the egregious act. I know a lot of teams that operate that way. It's just not reported on and it gets leaked out. So in the end, and the suspension part is the dumbest thing. 6 weeks for Stephen Ross. So basically he could just go watch the game on his yacht somewhere. It's not, whatever.
Isn't this great what's happening with the NFL right now? The 3 biggest stories are Deshaun Watson and the Browns, whether he'll be suspended for even longer because the NFL's appealing it. This whole thing happening with the Dolphins and the tampering. Yeah. And then you got your back-to-back MVP who says the reason that he won the back-to-back MVP is because he had an ayahuasca trip and he found love in himself and others. Like, dude, I'm sorry. Well, can we go to that? Because that's a little more fun.
Well, hold on. We'll get to the Aaron Rodgers thing because that is, yes, I hear you, Steven. Those are the 3 storylines that we have right now in August. And then as soon as games are played, no one gives a shit.
No one cares. But that's where the NFL
Not to mention Daniel Snyder is he's like trying to get away from like having to testify for some shit. I lost track on that whole thing too. There's just so much shady shit going on in the NFL right now. But then, hey, it's football. We'll just not care about it in a couple weeks.
Yeah, then you have your fantasy draft, and you're worried about this guy getting hurt, and and all these things. Oh man, do I use him as my 3rd wide receiver? Who do I use as my 3rd wide receiver? Oh man, is this a 2 tight end league? Hey, who's the commissioner? Why do we have a 2 tight end league? Oh, that sort of things.
Well, those are all important questions, but I hear you. Just as far as the Dolphins thing, though, they did not find anything wrong with the tanking. So the thing that Brian Flores brought up was that he was going to be paid $100,000 each week for losses. And in my belief, when a money value is put down, saying that if you lose, this is the amount of money you'll be paid, that seems like a legitimate offer. The NFL came back and said this was in joking fashion. Really? You kidding me? And again, I'm not naive to this too. I believe that some teams tank as well. Not so much like let's go out and lose the game. To tell a coach that is asinine, but you could set up your roster to not perform well like the 2018 Raiders. So to say that's not tanking, when a money value was agreed upon, or not agreed upon, it was just offered to Brian Flores. It doesn't get more serious than that.
Yes, that is exactly what tanking is. Tanking is done very discreetly if you do it that in the way that, let's say, the Sixers have done, where it's just, you know what? We are going to lose a bunch of games to get a higher draft pick. We are going to build a team that can't compete within the NBA so that we can get a higher draft pick and eventually build our team that way. That's how tanking is done. That's how you do it discreetly, where you're just putting a team out there that doesn't make any sense, where you're like, how do they build that roster? How can they be trotting out that starting 5? And in the NFL, it's like, the NFL, it's hard to tell when a team is like tanking because the NFL is just so different week by week. Some rosters are just terrible because that's how the teams built them, and they can't build through the draft, and they're just a terrible, poorly run organization. But I think that it's $100,000. It's money. That's tampering. That's it. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like you offered this dude money to lose games. That's the definition of tanking. Definition of it.
Yeah. So that, Stephen Ross, the big slap on the wrist is he can't be around his football team for 6 weeks. God forbid.
Oh, man. This is the first time I've heard his name for like the last 2 years. Is there anyone really going to miss him for 6 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah. Your buddy Joel has a good point here. Isn't that what Paul Crew went to jail for?
Shaving points.
Shaving point. He went to jail for that. No, actually, no. He went to jail because he took Courtney Cox's car for a joyride and when he was drunk driving.
Yes.
That's why he went to jail.
Yes. Courtney Cox before all the doctors got involved.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about the Aaron Rodgers DMT's journey. So yes, and this makes a lot of sense for a lot of shit with him in the past couple of years. He went on Marcus Avery's podcast, this fitness guru in Austin, Texas. I love Austin, but God, all the weirdos have podcasts in Austin now. It's Joe Rogan, this dude. Um, so
Just those two.
yeah, I guess just those two. So Aaron Rodgers goes on his podcast and says he had a spiritual awakening with taking DMTs and
it was just the ayahuasca tea that has DMT in it. So it's ayahuasca is technically what he had.
Okay, so what's the difference between ayahuasca and DMTs?
Well, DMT is what's in the actual. Like, I don't know what's involved with ayahuasca. Like, I don't know.
All I know is I had a buddy in college that always tried to convince us to do DMTs, and I was like, that sounds too crazy for me. No thanks.
Yeah. No, I had one roommate in college who did it when he ended up living on his own after he was done living with us. And it's like, what are you doing? But anyway.
It's like brain fluid, right? It's like a piece like there's something
short.
in it. Yeah.
Very short. It's like a 5 to 10 minute thing. But apparently in those 5 to 10 minutes, it expands your horizons.
Which makes a lot of sense for Aaron Rodgers, even though, the obvious statement is, oh, you want to put that in your body, but you don't want to get the vaccine? Anyway.
Yeah, that was actually, you see the comments on that, by the way?
Yeah.
The comments are like, they were arguing between psychedelics and vaccines. It was hilarious.
I mean, I've taken psychedelics in my day, and they never made me want to be a better quarterback. But it's just funny to me, like we've gone from the days of quarterbacks, or because I know Charles Barkley. The thing was, I'm not a role model, but a lot of athletes are. So they'll always tell stuff for the kids. You got to work hard, you got to eat the right food, you got to be healthy. And then Aaron Rodgers comes out and says, like, yeah, I take psychedelic drugs, and that's how I'm able to be a good quarterback. Listen, he could do whatever the hell he wants, honestly. He's Aaron Rodgers. It's just funny to me, like, how hippy-dippy he's gone with, and just like, yeah, I've taken, DMTs and ayahuasca, and it makes me feel, a better quarterback. It makes me a better lover. It makes me, more caring for myself. So it's just not surprising whatsoever, but it's just funny to me that's, we've gone past the days of, people thinking about the kids and him just being like, yeah, I take psychedelics. You should too, kids.
But also, it's like, did the psychedelics teach you that, what, you should hold out for a new contract and, for $50 million a year? Yeah, it's like, dude, come on. You didn't learn to expand your love for other people. You've been a jerk to the media ever since. Like,
or like, he could just not get. I mean, like, basically, I think it just made him carefree and not give a fuck. But I think it also led to Devontae Adams being like, "You do your DMTs, man. I'll go in a little Uber with Hunter Renfrow."
That's what I'm saying, man. Is Devontae Adams? He probably looked at him as like, you know what? You're not the same guy that originally.
What happened to you, man?
What happened?
It's kind of like you seen that Key and Peele sketch where they both play Outcast, and Jordan Peele plays Big Boy. He's at a Starbucks, and then Keegan-Michael Key, who was the MC for the Hall of Fame ceremony yesterday, which was very weird. He plays Andre 3000. He comes in, he's all like, trippy and dippy, and then Jordan Peele is on as Big Boy goes, "The fuck happened to you, man? The fuck happened to you? You used to be somebody. Now you're just crazy as hell."
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like a journey to find yourself. I don't know what it is, man, but seeing that, it's like, why do you even admit that? But again, like, it just goes back to the NFL. This is what it is. And also, like, I will say this too. What he admitted to is not nearly as eye-opening as I'm sure it would be if you'd heard from what other NFL players take in order to
I mean,
in order to what's the word?
Compete
And just alleviate anything from the NFL season. Like, I think we'd all have our jaws dropped if every single player was telling you like what they did, maybe even before or after the season, in order to get right, because we'd be like, oh my God, because it's sports tough, man. But ayahuasca is the last thing I expected.
Well, not to downplay that, because I have heard a lot of people like ex-military Marines, they do take psychedelics to cope with kind of just the aftershock of being in war and everything. So
Mhm.
I get it. It's just funny to me that Aaron Rodgers, this big superstar, just says, "Yeah, I take him," or
Yeah.
I used to, or whatever the hell it was. But explains a lot. Explains his nature and kind of the whole. What was the thing we were talking about in March? The
Pancha Karma.
Panchakarma, where he was pooping on himself and throwing up so he can get his body right.
Yes.
To each their own. To each their own. But along the same quarterback discussion lines of controversial things, everyone thinks that Matthew Stafford's arm's going to fall off because he has reported tendonitis in his elbow, and I don't
Oh,
even know
it's
if that's even
tendonitis that's reported?
I don't even know if that's a real report because some people are throwing that out there. What basically happened was they've been putting him on a pitch count during training camp. It's been a problem all off season. Even during the regular season last year, he had some problems with the elbow. Sean McVay came out the other day and said that it's abnormal for a quarterback to be experiencing this. It's more of a pitcher thing. Honestly, I really don't see a lot with this story. Uh, Matthew Stafford came out yesterday, threw the ball great from all the footage that I saw. Living in LA, honestly, dude, I keep up with the Rams now. So I'm interested in what they always do, just the way they operate.
Mhm.
I watched the press conference with Matthew Stafford yesterday. He was visibly annoyed with all the questions he was getting about his elbow. He basically
Yeah.
said, like, yeah, it's something that I've been dealing with for most of my career, honestly. And it's not anything that's going to prevent me from playing. It's just something that I got to think about going forward. But it's not going to make my arm fall off or it's not going to make me retire early. It's just something that I got to think about. So I saw a lot of people saying like, "Oh, could the when once Jimmy Garoppolo gets cut, are the Rams going to sign Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup plan?" No, they're not. They don't have the money to do that. They're not going to do that. They're fine with Matthew Stafford. It's just when you throw that many times, things are going to be weird.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like I don't. It's not like a pitcher getting Tommy John surgery. You know what I
No,
mean? It's just like an injection. It's not like he's doing something that's going to take a year to recover. I think there's as much ado about nothing. I was excited. I was like, ooh, content, finally. Like something with Stafford. Something's
you
going wrong.
you pray for the negativity, don't you?
But then, like, then you read into it, then it's just yet you do that all the time. Well, you have to, and you read into it, then it's like, oh, well, this is much ado about nothing.
It's nothing, honestly.
Like when you really read into the facts, God, these headlines, man.
I
That's why
know.
I guarantee you, like the people who are coming up with, oh, well, Jimmy Garoppolo, could he back him up if Stafford's not able to go? I guarantee you they didn't read the report or didn't look into it at all. I
No,
guarantee that because when you look at it, it's like, oh, well, the elbow injury, maybe it's significant, but maybe it's not. once you really think about it,
it's
is
not
there?
significant.
Yeah.
I think it's nothing, honestly.
Okay. Well, you know what I do think is significant though?
What's that?
Everything going on with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray.
Lay it on me.
It's just way too. Everything is just way too turbulent within everything that's going on with the Cardinals. So I go back to the Seahawks, right?
By the
And
way, do you think that Kyler Murray studied for his COVID test?
good one.
Stole that line from Adam Copeland. Anyway, go
Nice
ahead.
work. But what happened with the Seahawks with Russell Wilson after that year? And the report that came out that there's friction with him and the Seahawks and, all this stuff that he's not okay with the team and that he's going to give it one more year. Then last year, we saw what happened. Seahawks not nearly as good of a team. They didn't build that roster. Then they said, you know what? We're not going to trade him. We are not in the business of trading Russell Wilson. Then they end up trading him to the Broncos 2 days after Pete Carroll said that. You knew something was up there no matter how much they try to downplay it. With the Cardinals, even though Kyler got his extension and everything that happened with the independent study addendum, even though it was revoked and they said that it was misrepresented by the masses, that everyone had the wrong interpretation of what it meant. But we know what it meant. It meant that he wasn't studying enough. Like that's just what it was. It just so happened that Ian Rappaport, shout out to him for doing the digging, was able to find that independent study addendum in the contract. He read through it, something we're not willing to do. So once it got reported, okay, they're going to revoke it so they don't get the bad publicity.
16 pages. It was time for that.
But then I see this Cliff Kingsbury thing and Josh Weinfuss of ESPN.
Oh, name.
I asked Cliff Kingsbury about having Kyler Murray call the plays via radio on Saturday because I guess that's what Kyler Murray did. he called the plays, and he was doing that through the radio. And Cliff Kingsbury said, I just wanted him to know that, hey, this shit ain't easy. Every now and then he starts shaking his head when I'm calling it in there. I'm like, all right, go ahead, big dog. The hell?
Yeah.
Look, man, I don't know I don't know what's been going. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what the relationship is. I don't know if Cliff, because that sounds like, honestly, that could go one of two ways. That could sound like a head coach who's very frustrated with his starting quarterback and wanted to let him know that, hey, maybe my job's harder than you're making it out to be. Or two, they sound like brothers who are fighting. They really sound like brothers who are bickering. So
Yeah.
I don't know what their relationship is like, and I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury had anything to do with that independent study addendum. But when I'm seeing that happen with a head coach and the quarterback, go ahead, big dog. Call the plays. Shit ain't easy. Try it. Like, what?
Yeah.
Those two things coming into, and then it's like, and I guarantee you, it was. I'm actually not going to guarantee it. This is just total speculation on my part. But like, Kingsbury's probably thinking, you know what? You didn't study enough film. Like, I'm going to put this. I agree with this independent study addendum because you don't know what's going on with the play calling that I'm doing. You don't understand what I'm doing. So I'm going to make you do this on Saturday. Just the whole thing is mucky, very mucky right now.
It's a mucky situation, and I think it was probably the most begrudgingly contract ever given out, where they probably didn't want to do this, but because of what Kyler Murray means to their franchise right now, they did it because they can't go back on the fact that they drafted Josh Rosen one season and then traded him away to get Kyler Murray. And yeah, I don't know where this goes. I don't think that they're going to be as good as they were a season ago. Unfortunately, they had a bad situation with their running backs coach being arrested. Marquise Brown got arrested this week earlier.
Yeah.
He was speeding, trying to get to training camp on time. He got arrested for it, which is crazy. He I guess was going an obscene amount of fast, but yeah, it's just it's not a good situation with the Cardinals right now. I don't know how they're going to fare this season.
Speaking of that, there was, the lineman Rich Ornberger used to play for the Patriots.
Yes, just got done texting him.
What?
He's coming on our show tomorrow.
Oh, nice. So, well, why'd you do that? Why'd you have him come on the show? What's the reason for
Because
it?
of the story you're about to tell. We played it on the show on Friday. It is hilarious.
So,
also, he's in San Diego and he knows about Juan Soto.
So, I was driving a Chevy Tahoe. This is him, and it says I'm late already.
Story.
This is talking about going to practice.
This is back when he was a Patriot and he was trying to get to Patriots practice on time.
And he was so afraid of being cut that he intentionally rear-ended a van when he was
a church van. A church van.
Says he was driving a Chevy Tahoe and says I'm late already, or I'm gonna be. I'm like 5 minutes to being officially late, and I've got a 15-minute drive ahead of me. I had this sinking feeling in my stomach. I'm gonna get cut. And I'm cruising down this slight sloping hill that brings you to the first traffic light that I have to turn right to get to the stadium for the morning meeting. I see a church van in front of me that's all dinged up, and it's got the black smoke coming out of the exhaust pipe. And I'm just like, I'm just going to hit this car. So he did.
He did because he was so scared of what was going to happen to him if he was late to a Patriots training camp where he was just a fringe player. He thought that his career was going to end and Bill Belichick was going to cut him because there have been instances in the past. We were talking about it on the show. There was a snowstorm like 10 or 15 years ago, and a lot of Patriots players showed up late. Adelius Thomas, Randy Moss, and Bill Belichick's response to all of them was, "Go home. You're late. I don't want you around." Oof. And they were like, "Coach, it was a snowstorm today. What'd you want us to do?" And his response to them was, "Should have planned ahead. Look at the weather report." They made them all go home.
God, that's crazy.
So the Ornberg story, I think, ends with him getting to Patriots practice and them saying, "Well, that's unfortunate about the car accident. Let's see the car, though." They inspect his car, see the dings, and go, "Okay, understandable, but this shit doesn't fly here." They kind of understood, like, you're already late, you're trying to get away around it. And to his credit, Rich paid the guy that he hit like 300, $400 to be on his way. Was going to cover everything with the accident, but he thought it was best rather than be late just to hit another car.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do, man. If you feel like you can make that amount of money or make a good amount of money doing it, shoot, that'd be worth it.
I guess, or you just don't want your career to end and you got to look for another job, which we all know sucks. So, hey, we all do crazy things sometimes. But yeah, I heard that story this week and it was hilarious.
So, random other thing from the NFL, and this just got reported from Florio this morning.
Oh, your buddy.
Actually, when we started this podcast, NFL quietly tweaked lowering of the helmet rule in 2022.
Yeah, I saw that.
So the 2022 rule book has come out, and the rule is that if it is a foul, if a player lowers his head and makes forcible contact with his helmet against the opponent. So originally it was the word initiate instead of forcible. So it is a foul if a player lowers his head and initiates contact with his helmet against the opponent. So what does this even mean? Does this mean anything? So if they are saying it's forcible,
basically what that means is they're going to let it go a little bit this season.
Well, that's a good thing. You know what? Because the lowering the helmet, like these calls, they've just been so egregious. Like we already saw it in the Hall of Fame game.
First game, Trayvon Walker. What was it? Unnecessary roughness.
Yes, on Jarrett Stidham, and it was already BS. So
first play out the gate.
All right, well there you go.
Good play by Cleveland Cole catching that ball that fluttered up in the air.
Cleveland Cole, his only reception of the game.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with the third receiver on the team next to Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. You got a lot of options there with Demarcus Robinson, Matt Collins, Tyron Johnson, and Keelan Cole.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. No, it's they're whatever. Who cares? They're all backups. Devontae Adams. I want to see Devontae.
Yeah, but you got to have I mean, in the NFL now, you're going to have a three. I mean, basically, to Darren Waller is going to be that third receiver. But you do need. Well, we said it before. You got the big superstar Devontae Adams. You got the slot white guy and Hunter Renfrow. Who's the third guy going to be in that three receiver set?
You could make a case that third wide receiver is going to be the fifth most important receiver on that team. Devontae, Hunter, Waller, whoever the running back is.
Yeah, you're right.
And that receiver.
I mean, Foster Moreau could get more catches, honestly.
Which is crazy. That's crazy. Man.
Juan Soto. The sweepstakes ended last trade deadline, and it was no surprise. We heard about this team for a while, probably since the beginning of the rumors of the Nationals wanting to trade him. He gets traded to the San Diego Padres. And who was it? Eric Hosmer that was putting a stink up about not wanting to go to the Nationals. So in the end, he gets traded to the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Didn't squander the deal. Still went through. So Juan Soto is added to that already stacked San Diego lineup that's going to have Tatis coming back with Manny Machado. And then a lot of Giants fans look around like, what the fuck? And I know a lot of people didn't expect the Giants to trade for him in the end. But then at the deadline, they trade away Darren Ruff. They get J.D. Davis back. They traded away guys that never even played on the team. You're a Giants fan, Steven. What was your reaction to not only Juan Soto joining the division, but the Giants not doing a lot, not trading away Rodon or Jock Peterson, just staying pat?
Now, let me give you the full play-by-play of what I was doing the first day after Juan Soto, or the day of Juan Soto's debut. So Giants and Dodgers were playing at like 6:45, and I think the Padres and Rockies started at 6:40. So I decided to turn on the Padres and Rockies game just to watch the reaction to Soto's debut and everything. So it's the bottom of the first. I'm watching Soto's first at bat. Soto gets on with a 4-pitch walk. Dude didn't want any part of him. Then coming up next is Manny Machado. Chad Kuhl was the pitcher. Manny Machado crushes one to center, gets a double out of it. So it's runners on second and third already with no outs. And I'm like, shit, man, this is really what we're going to have to deal with, isn't it? And then Josh Bell comes up, who was also acquired in the trade, who, was hitting 310 and had 20 jacks. Josh Bell comes up, gets walked. Then it's bases loaded. Then after that, Jake Cronenworth, who was one of their young up-and-coming players along with Tatis. He was a Rookie of the Year candidate. Did he win Rookie of the Year? I don't remember. But anyways, really good player. Cronenworth gets hit. 1 run scored. Bases loaded. 1-0. Then they bring in Brandon Drury, who is having this just awesome season with the Reds. I currently have him on my fantasy team, so I've been keeping track of him. Picked him up as a free agent early in the year because he was hot and he just hasn't cooled off. Brandon Drury gets on, hits a shot to left, and they have it's a grand slam Diego. They call him Slammed and Drury. The Padres crowd is going insane, just absolutely nuts at Petco Park. And then I turn on the Giants game. After hearing the crowd, the announcers, Soto, the excitement, everything. Then I turned to the Giants game, and I'm not kidding. This is exactly what I heard as soon as I swept it over. And Belt strikes out to end the inning. Top of the second coming up. Nothing ball game. Dodgers Giants. It's like, dude, I just watched these guys score 5 runs, and it was like the greatest debut game for players who have been traded ever. It's like the first time in history that each player that had been acquired had a multi-hit game. So I guess all of them did, which is crazy with Drury, Bell, and Soto. But then that's number 1. Number 2, went to the Giants-Dodgers on Thursday, Derek. And I'm sorry, I'm a little long-winded here, but I'm storytelling, all right? Give me a little bit.
Hey, man. I'm Greg's son. I'm used to long-winded. Go for it.
So Thursday, go to the Giants-Dodgers game. 3 guys sitting in front of us. Got a Dodger fan wearing a Betts jersey. Got a Giants fan. Got a Padres fan. Then also another friend who just wasn't a fan of any. He was just a fan of baseball by the look of it. He didn't have any affiliation. No fandom to a team. But as the Giants are like trying to stay in this game, but they aren't. Their pitcher gets taken out, Jacob Junis, after like throwing 79 pitches. I think it was like 3 1/3. And then John Brebbia comes in and gives up 2 runs instantly, and the lead's extended. We're all just sad. But I'm just seeing the Dodgers and the Padres fans both high-fiving together and just laughing as the Giants fan is sitting there sulking in misery.
Was a Padres fan at the game?
Yeah, I don't know why. Jesse was very confused too. But they were just high-fiving each other and laughing as the Dodgers just hit another home run with Mookie Betts in a Giants-Dodgers series as they go on to lose their 8th straight against that team. I was like, dude, this is exactly how it's going to be for the next 5 years at least, unless Farhan does something magical, like this process that he has. I get it. I think it does work, but not when the other 2 teams in your division are going against that and spending and making big trades to bring big names over to their teams. So you got to compete. I don't know what the plan is for Farhan here. Was a little surprised that he didn't unload Rodon. I thought that Rodon was going to get a lot in return for him, but if he doesn't pick up his player option, I'd hope there'd be something in there where he's like, well, maybe he could pick it up, But
we have Farhan on the show. He expects Rodon to not pick up the option.
So what is his plan? Have you guys asked him like straight up, hey man, what are you thinking?
Yes. So after no deals were made and supposedly Rodon was on the table to go to the Phillies or the Cardinals, and in the end they just didn't think that the compensation was enough. So then we went to the public house actually on Wednesday. Did a live show. Had Dave Fleming stop by, talk about Vince Scully, and we'll talk about him later on. It was a great time, and we were expecting Farhan to join us on the patio. Did not happen. He ended up calling in, and Copes asked him straight up, how do you want to operate going forward, knowing what you just said, Steven, that the Dodgers and Padres go about business a different way than you? And Farhan said, we have to rethink things. In the offseason, we have to rethink things about how we handle it as a business. We understand that that's the way we've operated for so long, or at least during my tenure as Giants, president of baseball operations. But when you have to go up against teams like that are, going LA Rams style and just fuck them picks, let's get as much talent as possible on the team, then you have to rethink things. And I do believe that Juan Soto was never really going to be a big thing because he values a lot of those prospects. Kyle Harrison, I don't know the other names, but Farhan's a prospect guy. I think you're going to see a lot of changes with the Giants next season, but would not be the least bit surprised if they are in the running for Aaron Judge or another big name.
Yeah, you watch any of The Captain?
I've been watching it all, man.
So the latest talks about the contract extension for Derek Jeter and them
Yes.
offering him $15 million a year, and he thinks that was insulting and that they didn't feel like they deserved anymore. I couldn't help but think about Aaron Judge too, just his time with the Yankees. Like if he's expecting to be paid a certain amount, like Cashman seems like a pretty stubborn guy.
Yes.
Where he'd just be like, you know what, we don't think you're worth that amount, man. Like we just don't. So you know what? You could go test the market elsewhere. Like, what if it's the same sort of situation as it is with Jeter, as it is with Judge this offseason? It's like it's just okay.
I
also
wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Judge resigns with the Yankees because he still could play. Now, during that time you're talking about in The Captain, Derek Jeter was on kind of the downward slope of his career, and he wasn't playing as well as a shortstop. They told straight up to his face that they'd rather have Hanley Ramirez. But if we have to settle on you, we'll settle on you. And that pissed off Derek Jeter. And even though he signed the contract, he says in the documentary, I never looked at Cashman the same way again.
Right.
But he knew his career was going to be over in 3 years. So Aaron Judge most likely is going to be AL MVP. And if it's just a matter of how many years you're going to give him, I think they cave and give him a big contract. But that being said, if it's too late already, and he's pissed with the way that the Yankees have handled this whole situation, he could just tell them, fuck you, I'm signing with the Giants. And it sounded that way when he did that interview before the home run derby, and he was telling the small kid, you may have to root for another Yankee going forward. It's truth. I mean, I liked it. Who was the woman that asked him that question? She put him in a weird spot, but
Marley Rivera.
Yeah. Yeah. So I understand Giants fans are upset, but at least you're not the A's. And you won that game going away yesterday, 7-3.
You know what, though, man? Like, I'm tired of A's fans making this excuse like you're turning into the A's. Like, your team had 2 straight 97-win seasons and couldn't do anything with it. It's not because you didn't have the stars and weren't willing to pay your stars. They just didn't do anything when they won.
Yeah, but
if those guys are,
they also don't give a lot of time to win.
What?
The A's don't give a lot of time to win.
No, that's true. And I'm not disputing any of that, but it was at least 2 straight 97-win seasons. Like if that happened with the Giants and let's just say the Giants had these young up and coming talents here, these prospects that all pan out, and they get you to a 97-win type of season where you also make some additions along the way too. The A's aren't devoid of that. They certainly made some additions that helped their team, like signing Chris Davis, even though his second contract with the A's was just terrible. When you first signed him, he was awesome. I'm hearing so much of, well, the Giants are turning into the A's, and it's like, I get that, but y'all had 2 straight 97-win seasons. Like, the only problem was the A's didn't operate the same way that the Astros did. The Astros just had a head start because they were building their team homegrown. It was just a bad time. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I just look at that and I think like A's fans are experiencing the struggle right now. Don't they? I mean, they've been good since the All-Star break, but they are at a point where they're going to move. So I guess I can't really,
Some Giants fan yesterday showed up to the Coliseum wearing Las Vegas A's stuff.
Really? Jeez.
I mean, it's funny and all, but it's the truth. Like, we had Matt Vasgersian on Friday, and he's pissed. He went into a rant about how this sucks, and he's a diehard A's fan, grew up in the East Bay, and there will be no A's baseball in the Bay Area and within 2 years, as our buddy John Morosi told us.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So yeah, at least they're not the A's in that sense, but they're turning into a really frustrating team.
I know, but at the end of the day, they're also the Giants, so they will operate differently than the A's.
Yeah, and it's not even just the operation; it's also their play on the field. It's like, my God, man! At some point, it stops becoming like the front office and the coach's fault, and you turn to the player, and you're just like, how do you not, like Luis Gonzalez, for example, that run from second to third in that one game, whichever game where they didn't score from the bases loaded. When he runs from second to third And his reasoning was, I didn't think Betts was going to catch that ball. And he was he was, creeping toward third. He was like halfway down the line. But it's like, dude, in your head, how can you not think Betts is going to catch a ball? Like, catch anything that's out there.
Yeah.
Like, if he's going to dive for it, then I understand. But he's running in and catches it standing straight up. Little plays like that throughout the season, which make you think, like, my God, like, at some point you stop blaming the front office and the coaches. It's like, it's on the players. Like, it should be on you. Coaches can only do so much. They can't teach you fundamentals. They shouldn't teach you fundamentals. You saw how ridiculous that was in Angels in the outfield to that player who thought, fundamentals in the middle of the season? And Knox is like, yeah, we're going to go back to fundamentals. Good times.
I just hope that Gabe Kapler had a good time at Outside Lands.
Did he go?
He did, and they asked him, so what are you doing on your day out? And he's just like, Outside Lands. Yep, gonna be a good time. Love, nothing better than going to see music at a concert. They asked him, what band you looking forward to? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people performing. And he goes, maybe a little Uzi Vert. I was like, Jesus, really? How old's Gabe Kapler? Like 45? Like, yeah, just trying to stay young, man. Just trying to stay young.
He's a good dude.
He's a good dude,
is.
but
I wonder how much he connects with his players, though, too.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
You could be supportive. You can get ejected if an ump talks to one of your players, and doing it in a time where your team already has
he was trying to light a fire under their ass too, though. That was a little bit of both of him trying to prove a point and trying to do the Steve Kerr thing, breaking the clipboard, getting thrown out of the game. He just wanted to light a fire.
Lit a fire under Brandon Belt's ass, hits a double, then gets to second and somehow makes a home in that inning. But man, I don't know. I do wonder about his connection with players. I don't know what it is.
I do too. Was it the same game where Mookie had that celebration in the dugout, getting sprayed in the face with a water bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. I didn't see it because I was at the game. I was in right field.
Yeah.
I was in like the third deck in 305. And so we're way behind the Dodgers dugout. Didn't see any gesture being made there. And really, Harlan Garcia, he came off looking like an idiot, really.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Why are you talking to the Dodgers bench? Then you see that celebration, and maybe they were offended by it. I don't know. You put yourself in that player's shoes.
It's just a stupid celebration, but yeah, I agree with you. Garcia shouldn't have reacted that way.
Yeah, but it's also hard to say because if I'm in his shoes, I mean, I remember people talking trash to me during baseball, and I could barely even, I could barely stop paying attention to that one person and always going back to that one guy who's talking trash on the other team. So, yeah.
That being said, man, I mean, the Dodgers are playing really good baseball, and they have a lot of guys that are hurt right now. So, even with the addition of Juan Soto, they kicked the Padres' ass the last 2 nights. So, we'll see how they go going forward.
Yeah, and I know I'm not too, angry about the Giants not trading for Juan Soto because having watched that Padres and Rockies game and having watched that first at bat, I'm like, okay, if Soto's on the Giants and he gets a 4-pitch walk, all right, well, who's coming up next for him? Austin Slater in the cleanup spot? Like, who's going to be after him? Who's going to follow that up? Instead, they had Manny Machado and Josh Bell, Jake Cronenworth, and then Brandon Drury all to follow him up. Who would the Giants have? Hey, we brought up this guy, Bryce Johnson. He might be able to do something. He's more of an outfield specialist, but he's not known for his bat. You know what? Who's coming up? David VR, but he's going to get sent down to AAA in a couple of days. But David VR is going to get his time. We just want to get him some reps. Oh, we're going to bat Joey Bart 8th, by the way. Yeah, Joey Bart's coming up 8th, so he's not going to be anywhere near you in the order. They need to put him up higher in the order, I think. What was he yesterday, actually? What was he yesterday, Joey Bart?
I don't know. Well, he hit a home run.
Yeah, because he's starting to pick things up. Let me look at that. That starting lineup.
They kicked the A's ass yesterday
in
the Coliseum.
Yeah,
40,000 people, all Giants fans. Ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. Where?
I guess.
Where was it? Hang on, I want to look that up. Where was he in the lineup? Damn it! Oh well. Oh, now I got it.
Just look at Pavs.
Yeah, he was 6th in the lineup. All right, yeah, 6th. It's really tough to find. Is he 6th or is he 7th? What? Because there's so many pinch hitters for this team every damn game. No, he was 7th. Never mind.
Want to do a little pop culture catch-up?
Little pop culture catch-up.
All
Little pop
right.
culture.
I haven't watched a lot this week. I've been catching up on the
Mm.
Captain.
Yep.
Thought that was it's coming down to the end. I guess there's one last episode, and it's been interesting. Like I said, not a lot of drama, but there's stuff here or there. Like I liked in the you've caught up, right?
Yeah.
Like they got into a lot of the racial stuff with
Yeah, I found
Derek
that really
Jeter.
fascinating. I found that fascinating.
I did too, because I'm gonna be completely honest. For most of my life, I did not know Derek Jeter was black. I knew when I watched the documentary he was before that, but I did not know as a kid he was black. Just not something that was brought up a lot. So that was
The first time I heard he was biracial was because of the other guys. Like,
oh,
funnily
and
enough,
yeah, that's true. That's
when
true.
he's like, he's a biracial angel, and I was like, wait, he's biracial? So I looked that up. So
Didn't know. Yeah,
I learned in 2010.
that's probably around the same time I learned too. Yeah, did not know that. So it's really fascinating to watch Derek Jeter. Kind of like him more now. I always thought he was just kind of an arrogant guy, but he's not really. He was just trying to play baseball, and he's just living his best life now. So I actually have a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, it makes you also wonder, like, what's really happening within these teams that the media is not being able to report because nobody's telling. It's very important, though, as a captain, and that's why Stephen Curry is so even keeled. I know Steph doesn't say much, but he doesn't. He just wants to keep things focused on basketball. He doesn't want to let outside factors play into what's happening. He still answers the questions. Actually, he's not like Jeter, where he's like, "Oh, this is my first time hearing about it." Like that was so good. He had his like go-to lies. Oh, it's my first time hearing about it. But one of the other things in the captain too, God, which year was it? I think it was 2010. Yeah, it was the year after they won the World Series. And Jeter just goes, I was having a down year. And he goes, I was hitting 270. It's like people would kill to hit 270 in today's game. It's funny to think about. Overall, great. I love that part. I love the whole thing with the media. Joel Sherman getting into a fight in the dugout, which was hilarious.
Yeah, saw that.
That was great.
How about them? There was one part, I forget who the writer is, but he said that Derek Jeter was colorless, and they get the reaction of Derek, his sister, his father, and his mother, and all of them are like, "This guy's an idiot." So, in order for that quote to be used, that man had to stand on that opinion and stick with it for it to be used in the documentary.
Yeah.
And then they showed it to Derek, they showed it to his family, and they all said, "You're a fucking idiot." So I wonder how that guy feels about that quote being used in the documentary, because it wasn't like some old archival footage. It was a current man, I forget who it is, sitting down for the purpose of that documentary, saying that Derek Jeter didn't have any color. He was colorless. Just a stupid thing to say.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's just that's so great too. And they're just in documentaries when they have that happen in real time and they just get their reaction right away. He said that. Also, she said that.
Yeah. But also, it's funny though. Like Derek doesn't care who says whatever. Like Buster Olney at one point says Derek should have gone to who was the manager after Torrey, the old catcher? Girardi. He should have gone to Girardi and told him that I need to go down the lineup. And then they cut to Derek going, "That's a fucking stupid thing to say. Why would I do that?"
Yeah. So we don't think the same way as these guys, man. And then the Page 6 report too about the goodie bags or whatever. The gift baskets.
I was heartbroken. That's not a real thing.
Do we think it's not a real thing?
It probably is. It's not so much the goodie bags. I probably don't. The goodie bags is one thing. It's the policy of you leave your phone at the front door so you don't get to take any pictures. I believe that 100% because Derek Jeter is a private person.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. Maybe not the goodie bag or the gift baskets. I actually need to, I'm going to go back and read that article today. I haven't read the article before. You see like a graphic of the baseball diamond with all the women that Derek Jeter's been with. And it's like, they got everybody, including a DH in the batter's box. They got everything. They got 10 players on the field. And then that's always followed up by the report of he used to leave goodie baskets for people who'd come over to his house and leave. Oh, so good. We didn't insinuate that he did anything. Yeah, you did. Yeah,
of course you did. You're going to say that women came over to his house and left with a goodie bag? What are you implying? They came over to clean his house.
No, he's just a nice guy. He leaves people with goodie bags. It's just like a birthday party, like a kid's birthday party. You know,
Yeah.
you go to a birthday party, then you leave with some candy in a goodie bag.
Anything else you're watching? I actually haven't watched a lot this week.
Oh,
I actually have been trying to determine which streaming things I actually use and which ones I can get rid of. I just got rid of Paramount Plus. Don't need that. Really nothing on there that I need to watch. I just literally canceled my Netflix. I
wow.
know. I'm gonna use my mom's. I've already
Oh,
discussed it with her. She's been using my Netflix for years. Now it's time to switch things up. I am gonna watch that Woodstock documentary you talked to me about,
yes.
but there's not a lot of stuff on Netflix I watch anymore. So if I can use hers, I will. I gotta have Amazon Prime to watch football this season. Hulu's coming out with a Tyson show in a couple weeks that I want to watch. Um, so I'm picking and choosing which streaming sites I need. Thank God I have my buddies log in. I don't even use Disney Plus that much. I kind of want to check out the Buzz Lightyear movie, but also I'm kind of like, is it that good? I don't really know.
So I watched those two things that you mentioned, the Woodstock
Okay.
documentary, which I'm fascinated by, and then also the Lightyear movie too. Watch that. Eh,
Yeah.
yeah. The way they frame it is like this is what's his face? Andy's favorite movie.
Oh.
And then at the end, and Jesse had the joke first, but it was like, damn, Andy, this is your taste in movies? Your taste in movies stinks. Um go pick something else, bud. But
Yeah.
no, Lightyear, not that great. I don't know. If you want to watch
So
it,
it's
go ahead.
worth just watching for free on Disney Plus, though.
Yeah, dude, don't go to the theater or anything. Don't pay to watch that. It wasn't that good. Kind of a disappointment. And then you don't have Tim Allen's voice as Buzz Lightyear. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, exactly. The Woodstock doc, friggin' just so good. It's just it's funny to think that the reason that they booked those acts is because they were the biggest things going at that time. It's just to think like that's where music was in America in 1999, where we were all just obsessed with metal and rock, like Kid
Yes.
Rock and Limp Bizkit and Corn. Not gonna lie, I've been listening to a lot of Corn ever since. Yes, like all that, and they actually show like they show the crowd when
Yeah.
Corn opens up. Like this was the first night, and they open up with James Brown. It was a pretty cool story actually. Like I guess James Brown
For
was
Woodstock '99?
yeah, he opened it up,
Wow.
and
Did not know that.
I guess he only accepted like the payment that he was going to perform at before going on stage. And
Mm-hmm.
so the main promoter for Woodstock, like right before he was about to go on, he's the first act and people are already waiting for him. I guess the Woodstock promoter was like getting into a fight with his manager, and his manager's like, "We're not going to do this shit unless we get paid." And then, and I guess the kind of like out of a movie, the promoter points out to the stage and looks like, "Well, your client's already performing," and then he starts going. Gives him a big fu. But yeah, then they showed Corn that night, and that's when the security guard came in and started talking about how like, you know, it was scary. Like it was genuinely scary seeing the crowd move like that. And just it was like a wave. It was like a big
Yeah.
wave of just 250K, you know, screaming teenagers, like just going crazy for Corn.
Where did it take place?
New York, somewhere. I think it was
So still the same one from the 19.
Rome, New York, I think is what
Okay.
it was called.
It was the 30-year anniversary of the original Woodstock that I want to say took place in 1969.
Yes.
And I know it very well because as a kid I listened to all those bands, but it was a different feel than Woodstock in '69 because that was all about peace and love. This was just like, what's the one that the Jane's Addiction guy started?
Chris Cornell.
No. What was the name of that band?
Soundgarden?
No, Lollapalooza.
Oh, right.
That was like what yeah, Rome, New York, Ernie says. That's what the '99 Woodstock was all about, was just to get a bunch of big acts like DMX, Korn. But the big thing that I remember from that story is it was overpriced waters. You had like
Yes.
$20 for water, and people were like, dehydrated. It was like a big scam. Plus, the big thing that I remember is Creed played, and Creed, I guess, took too long or something, or Limp Bizkit took the. Anyway, the point is that Creed, the lead singer of Creed, Scott Stapp, got into it with Fred Durst, lead singer of Limp Bizkit, and I always remember this is Fred Durst coming out going, "This next song is dedicated to the lead singer of Creed. That guy's a fucking psycho." And then they play break stuff, and the crowd begins to go into a riot, and
Yeah.
that's what led to a bunch of fucking chaos back then.
Yeah. No, I was it's hilarious because, well, not hilarious because of what happened, but just watching Fred Durst do his thing. I don't know. Break stuff is just such a late 90s music Limp Bizkit thing, man.
with a fat lip.
Yeah, dude.
I remember that music video. Eminem is in it, Dr. Dre's in it, Snoop Dogg's in it, just everybody just yelling angrily into the guy from Korn's in it.
Yeah.
Jonathan Davis.
Jonathan Davis. What
Break
was it?
your fucking face tonight.
What did he say? Yeah, he leads off the song going, "Y'all ever have one of those days where you just want to break some shit?" And then eventually the music starts, the drum starts, and then he starts rapping. He's like, "It's just one of those days," and then he starts going into it.
Everybody sucks.
Yeah, yeah. And then what was it? He was lifting up the middle finger, and he's basically like, "Take all that negative energy and leave that shit up." And then, it got a little out of hand. I watched a little bit of the concert too. I just looked up the live set, and I was just kind of like skipping through and finding some of my favorite songs. And there was one part where I just like happened to stumble on it in between songs, and Fred Durst is like going out to the crowd. He's like, "How many of y'all hate NSYNC?"
That was the thing to do back then.
The late 90s, man.
I know. Everybody's shitting on boy bands.
It brings you back. But I'll say this about the documentary. The people that were involved, they got them as the talking heads. But personally, I didn't think it was enough. And I know you haven't seen it yet, but I didn't think it was enough of the people who actually went. I think they had like maybe 3 different people that went, but they didn't experience anything traumatizing. Like they didn't experience anything.
Yeah, people got injured.
It was just like, hey, yeah, I went and I saw like they experienced things, but like there were these 2 guys who were 16 at the time, and like I kind of respect Netflix for not getting people who were just there for the narrative of, oh yeah, this was a disaster, this was a train wreck, as it's titled. Like I kind of give them respect for that, because there are 2 guys who are like, it was the greatest time of my life, and it's the best experience I've ever had. Would 10 out of 10 do it again? Like, and it is really good though, man. It's really good.
Is it kind of like in the same way of what they did the Firefest documentary, where it was just a point, like it was a mix of like a good thing, but also just a fucking, terrible thing? I guess not with the Firefest. What I would say is, you ever seen the documentary Class Action Park?
Yeah.
On HBO Max. They have a lot of comedians in that documentary talking about a amusement park in Jersey in the 80s that was known for its crazy rides, but it killed people. A few people, but also a lot of people go, some of the best moments of my life is going to Action Park. So was it kind of like that, where it was just like, yeah, it was a terrible thing and people got injured, but it was still a great time.
Yeah. That's how it was at the end. So that was good. And then The Boys. I just finished up The Boys finally.
Yeah, I probably need to see. I'm keeping Amazon Prime to watch football, so I may get around to watching The Boys.
You should. It's kind of going for the shock factor with every episode, though.
Yeah.
It's like trying to gross you out with each one. And this 3rd season, it might be a little too much, but it's still really well written. And I think like even as far as superhero franchises go, like in a weird way, this is like the most realistic one that it could be, because like if you're a superhero and you have that much power, there's so much ego that's involved. I know like you have Captain America and Iron Man and all that, but I mean, you can't tell me that in a real world, with how successful and popular that Iron Man was, that Tony Stark is, like he wouldn't be just trying to run shit in the entire galaxy. Like that's what's happening in The Boys. I think it's really well done. And the main villain, the guy who plays Homelander, is just so damn good. Although he looks like he has a chew in his mouth at all times. Like that's just how his mouth is shaped. Like
Yeah.
just the underside of his lip. It looks like he has a dip in, like a fat dip. The entire show.
Yeah. I wish though, because I kind of get the tone of what they're going for. That meme that goes around of him like cracking a smile after people cheer for him.
Yeah.
I can kind of tell the tone of what, like even though he does terrible things, people appreciate him because he's a superhero.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also some symbolism with what's going on in the real world.
Yeah.
You can make connections and all that. So it's a lot like that movie, Don't Look Up. It's a lot like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In that sense.
I just hate when social media ruins things like that though. Because even though there's nothing like going on with the plot with that meme, you kind of get the sense of what the show is going for.
Dude, it's like the final
And
scene.
exactly. And I'm watching Better Call Saul this season, and it's actually one of the better seasons this last season. There's 2 episodes left actually. And even if you don't follow the Twitter account of Better Call Saul, they're tweeting out fucking spoilers before you watch the episode. That pissed me off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know? Have you caught up at all, or do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I haven't caught up
Okay.
at all. I don't even know. But
Yeah.
it happens like this thing with Stranger Things. You had to watch it as quickly as possible because you know that if you miss out and you wait 2 weeks to watch it, there's going to be spoilers. There's going to be memes made out of it, like everything. And like if I didn't watch it, I would already know who the villain is. I'd already know everything. Like they're doing interviews. Oh, this is the guy that plays the villain who they revealed to be Vecna. Like you just see everything. You have to watch it quickly. I hate that about Stranger Things. I really do.
Yeah, that's why in 2 years when I re-up on Netflix, I'll get ready for that final season.
There we go.
One more thing about pop culture catch-up. I actually was surprised by this, but I guess not so much because it was just such a successful movie. Joker is getting a sequel with Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised just because that movie was extremely controversial when it came out. I think it probably still will be controversial just because I think people have a problem with the way that they did things in the movie of Kim kind of just being kind of incel-y and disturbing, but also think it was a great movie. I really enjoyed Joker. So interesting to see where they go with that with Lady Gaga playing opposite Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, that's exciting. I thought you were going to talk about the breakup of
Skeet Davis
and Kim Kardashian. God,
I'm leaving that all for you, my friend, because that is your forte.
He tattooed her name on him.
Yeah, you thought that was going to last forever, didn't you?
I did, dude. I was like, I remember looking at that, thinking, "Oh my god, this is like that sports fan who's getting a Super Bowl champions 2023 tattoo already." It's like, dude, you got that at the beginning of the season. You don't even know what's going to happen.
If you had to put betting odds with it, who's going to be Pete Davidson's next girl?
Oh, his next girlfriend? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Somebody popular. I don't know. What kind of question is that?
Just looking at the catalog, he had Kim Kardashian, Ariana Grande,
Kate Beckinsale. Is he gonna skew older? Is he gonna skew younger?
I say older. I'm gonna put Jennifer Aniston as the next one.
Jennifer Aniston's a good call. You never know. Depends what Jennifer Aniston's looking like. Jennifer Aniston's looking for. Because we all know what Pete Davidson brings to the table.
Skeet.
Yeah.
All right, before we get out of here, I want to end with this. It broke Wednesday night during the Giants-Dodgers game. Vince Scully. Jessie chimes in. She's saying Doja Cat. I don't know about that.
If it's not Doja Cat, I will be upset. Huh.
We don't know what sexuality Doja Cat has, correct?
I'm not sure, but
okay.
I think she shaved her head and eyebrows, didn't she? Yeah, she did.
I have no idea.
Yeah, on Instagram Live, she did it last night. She shaved her head and shaved her eyebrows too.
Sinead O'Connor, good for her.
Yep, there we go.
Vin Scully. So Vin passed away Wednesday night at the age of 94. And we all know him as a longtime voice of the Dodgers, but you go through the history of sports and he's on The Catch, the old TV call of it. Just such memorable baseball moments. Bill Buckner, Um, Joe Carter, the home run for the Blue Jays to win the World Series. Just so many memorable baseball moments. And when you think of a voice of baseball, that's the first one I think of. And it was just so nice because obviously it doesn't get much bigger than Giants Dodgers as far as a Giants Dodger. I mean, as far as a Dodger rivalry, and for the Giants fans to embrace Vince Scully, not get wrapped up in the rivalry. I thought it was kind of fitting, even though you never want to see the guy pass away. But during that series to happen, um, it was just kind of eerie. And just listening to John Miller and Kruk and Kipe and Dave Fleming talk about him, I just think it's been beautiful the last few days. So while we've relived the funny memories of Vince Scully, the Madison Bumgarner Wolf story, him talking about like there's one story he told about Mike Matheny getting a bird shitting on his head, and it's just like, well, the bird bombing made Matheny rethink his life, and
Yeah.
just all of the great stories, in the past few days between the two stations, 95.7 The Game and KMBR, a lot of people have come on and talked about Vince Scully. Just hearing Ken Korak talk about him or John Miller. Um, it's just been awesome. And I think they did it right. The Giants waited till after the game to announce the passing of Vince Scully, and both franchise embraced it. So even the radio booth, Vince Scully's last game as a play-by-play man was in San Francisco, and the radio booth in Oracle Park is named after Vince Scully. Funny enough, so I just thought that was a great tribute to the man who has been so iconic in sports.
I mean, he started in 1950 is when he started broadcasting games. 1950. That's just insane. Like to do that for as long as he did, for 67 seasons, and to think about just how old he was in 1950 to start that out. 27, 28 years old when you're calling games for a professional team. Now, he was calling games for the minor leagues back when he was 22, so he'd been doing that for a while. But I mean, I'm 29 years old. I can't imagine being the lead play-by-play guy. Now, I know baseball's different back then, and it was 1950, but still, when you're 28, you're 28. He could just bring like a non-baseball fan in and just keep you interested in the game. Like that's all that the broadcast is trying to do. That's what their goal is not only to, not only to just call the game and tell you what's going on, but it's also to keep you interested. And he did that through the vessel of storytelling. Like I remember the first time that I really got a dose of it, because I didn't watch a lot of non-local games when I was younger. I didn't watch a lot of games outside of the A's and the Giants, so I didn't hear too many Vince Scully broadcasts. But the first time I did, it was Angels Dodgers. I don't know why we were watching that game. It was like a random weekend afternoon. We were just watching baseball. And he was telling a story of this Angels player who, I guess like his family member was working for the Angels when they first started in their stadium, during their opening day or something, or when they first started playing in their stadium. And I forgot which player it was, but he's like, this guy has some history with the Angels. And then he said his aunt lives in the stadium. He's like, has this whole story about that. I was like, how do you even know that? And it's like, he's like, I know you don't want to make any comparisons like for sports to music, but like Nardwar, how Nardwar just has these facts and he knows things about these artists where it's
that's the only time the two will be compared.
Right? But like in a weird way, they're very similar in that sense. Where it's like
no, you're right.
Telling stories about these people. I mean, and they don't even know how they don't even know how they could, how they even knew the story, because he didn't. It's not like we talked to them about it. It's not like we sat for an extensive talk about it. So I don't know, man. Like what was it? That Bumgarner story that you referenced? I didn't even know that it was a story based on Tom Verducci in the Sports Illustrated article written a couple of years prior to it. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't even read the piece. I just know it is. Oh, well, Vince Scully told the story. Like I didn't even give Tom Verducci any credit for that. So I don't know, man. Just everything that he did for the sport, just how lovable he was and how welcoming he was on the broadcast. Just a lovable old man when he was on there, man. It was just, And the thing that's great when you look past when you look through all the iconic calls, because there are so many different ones, a lot in the 80s, but then even going back to the Hank Aaron home run.
Yes.
And, moving forward to hell, his voice on Twitter when he basically put into perspective how important this Giants-Dodgers series was last year. Like Vince Scully was that guy, but his voice has always remained the same.
Yep.
Always stayed the same.
You know, For the Love of the Game, a movie with Kevin Costner, you hear his voice throughout the movie as the play-by-play man. Back to the Hank Aaron home run, that one is significant just because he captures the moment and it resonates today like it did, back in the 70s where he says, a
Yes.
black man in the South here is getting embraced. And you never would have thought that would have happened. But I loved his storytelling, his goofy stories that he would tell. There's one where I guess it was the Cubs and Pirates in the 80s. And he's talking about this I guess this player on the team that he has a dog that had a heart attack and the dog needed mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And then he finds a way to spin it back together. He's like, I guess the moral of the story is no matter what happens, we all can be revived and live on. It's just like a way to like bring it back to like a good moral story. Like, he could talk about, Bumgarner, hacking at rattlesnakes and finding a rabbit that survived. And that goes to show you that if you keep trying, you'll survive. It's just funny ways of bringing stories like that together.
Did your dad ever meet him?
Yes.
Nice.
I'm assuming he did. But I mean, my dad, loved Vince Scully. He put some, John Miller, Vince Scully, damn, why am Dick Enberg, all in the same category of just great, storytellers, very poetic way of speaking, their voices, just a very old school baseball style. Dave Fleming had a great story.
Or Bill King too was in that conversation.
Yeah, Bill King, absolutely, Bill King. Dave Fleming had a great story where he was. They talked about it in the post game rap where he was saying he was at he walked in the bathroom, and Vince Scully's there at the urinal, and Vin just turns around and goes, "Dave, pull up a urinal."
Yeah. Yep. Fleming told that story on the show too. It was great.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Just unfortunate.
Yes. So R.I.P. to an icon, Vince Scully.
Man. Way too many of those, Derek. Way too many of those.
I know, man. Bill Russell last week and Vince Scully this week. So we're hoping we get through a show without having to honor somebody that passed away.
Yeah.
Well, Steve and I will be back next week. We got we'll see how much we tap into these preseason games. If something significant happens, we'll bring them up. But I mean, we got football to talk about, so we'll definitely talk about that. And yeah, man, it's around the corner. Getting excited. Football season. Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. Steven, say what you always say, my friend.
It's just our opinion, man. Oh man.